Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm back at it again with another video. So, just a bit of news to go over. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of this whole new WWE ID program launch. Here, check it out from what Triple H is saying based off of this article to give a bit of an explanation. And then I want to read to you some of the people who are kind of having an indifference in regards to this whole program. Check this out first, though. Following the launch of WWE ID, Chief Content Officer Triple H has addressed the first of its kind developmental program. WWE ID, short for WWE Independent Development, was launched on October 29th and I quote, is designed to provide up-and-coming independent wrestlers a pathway to a potential career in WWE. Per the official announcement, the program will, and I quote, provide prominent independent wrestling schools with the WWE ID official designation, with the goal of providing new trainees and existing talent as these select institutions with enhanced developmental opportunities. Already accredited under the WWE ID program, meaning the schools that are attached to WWE officially now, are Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, Cody Rhodes Nightmare Factory, Seth Rollins Black and Brave Academy, Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, and Knox Pro Academy in Los Angeles. Triple H has addressed the launch of the program on Twitter in a message that reads, and I quote, the level of talent on the independent scene is incredible. They're grinding away to make their dream a reality, and I'm excited for WWE to be on the forefront of supporting their journeys. WWE ID is here to help identify, support, and build the next generation of WWE superstars. But just to be fair, because you kind of figure out the positives, right? Obviously, that's going to give independent talent pretty much financial backing for the rest of their tenure before they come up to WWE. I think that's actually pretty cool when you think about it. But to be fair, let's read this guy. This is my first time reading because his post is going viral in this situation. It's called C4 Wrestling. They tweeted out, the point of independent wrestling is for talent to discover themselves and develop themselves, to grow, to learn. If you claim to be an independent but are bound to $1 billion company, you're not independent. If you're a young trainee, there is no fast track to the big leagues. I know when you're 19, 20, 21, etc., it may feel like it is a now or never type situation to make a career in wrestling. Don't rush yourself. Pride yourself on growing and traveling. Take your early years to learn, travel, have experiences that are outside the box. The art of professional wrestling is not experienced in a one-size-fits-all box. I wouldn't want to promote shows and use talent that fit into a cookie-cutter assembly line. I promise any young talent out there that shows potential that's spending 5 to 10 years making a name for themselves, developing and becoming confident in their own skin by traveling and working a variety of talents is going to make you much more valuable than what school you pick. I feel like I have some value in my opinion, having done this for nearly 2 decades, but nobody I've seen gain success in wrestling did it by following a predetermined path or taking an easy route. Anyway, these are my immediate feelings. Maybe there is more to come that will prove me wrong. But again, the talent I've seen succeed and reach that next level didn't achieve what they have because the path was an easy one to success. Make your own roads. Also, can't wait to get a bunch of replies and QTs from the worst. Oh, good God Almighty. Okay, bro, we get it. I actually thought he had decent points, and then he started going on the pearl clutching bullshit. Because I mean, this whole fucking tweet is kind of a pearl clutch, even though I don't necessarily disagree with him. So the rest of this bullshit is just meandering and pretty much do what I do when I talk about people in the end of the videos about coming after me and shit, okay? I do the same thing, but I don't want to read yours, okay? The only ones that matter are mine. Regardless, though, let's talk about C4 Wrestling and the whole WWE programming real quick before we go into the NXT review. I see what Triple H is doing, and I agree more with his perspective versus the C4 Wrestling guy's perspective. Like, I'll put it to you this way. If this was in any other time period in professional wrestling, say the 1970s or the 1980s or the 1960s, when the territory systems were really hot, and there was a difference in, say, how a guy was structured and how his style was pretty much unique to himself, or at least unique to that territory, and then they go from each state showing their expertise based off of the style of wrestling they cultivated from this area right here, then that I'd be okay, right? Like, it'd be no different than having all these restaurants, right? And even though Burger King has a certain way as far as how they operate, you know what I mean? It would be nice to see how McDonald's would operate and what can they bring to Burger King, considering they're the biggest fast food joint in the world, right? That's the context that I will look at if I was supporting C4. The only difference is this isn't the territory system, and this is the independent era. And the problem with the indies is that they all kind of have a one-size-fits-all already. I mean, it's the same thing. That's why we call it the indie style of professional wrestling. They already have a one-size-fits-all style as far as what they do in order to, you know, I don't know, kind of cultivate their own persona, I guess, if you want to say it like that. Like, I get it as far as being a better wrestler, but I don't see what's so bad about WWE and their fundamentals that's going to be any different than what the independents are going to teach some of these wrestlers. I think, if anything, the independents have taught wrestlers all the worst things to do. Almost everybody who comes off the indies has no promo skills whatsoever. They're very one-dimensional in their character, if you even want to call it a character. They're very, very, very specific on just the wrestling in itself, and it's not even like different wrestling. You only get two styles. I mean, in my opinion, this is what it looks like to me. You only get two types of style off the indies nowadays, and it's been this way for more than a decade and a half, right? There's no powerhouse, there's no showmanship. You rarely even get actual technical wrestling. Since Bryan Danielson left, I mean, really, the only person who's been pretty technical in the indie scene for the most part is Zack Sabre Jr. Like, outside of him, I don't ever see anyone who's that fucking technical, right? That's why he's been fucking getting the reward for like a decade now without anybody really opposing him. Really, in the indie scene, all you get is high flying, right? Or you get the European style. Maybe the strong style if you want to include that, but even then, that's kind of not really a territory thing. That's designated in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Really, in the indie scene, the UK and the United States and Mexico or whatever, it's really just high flying and it's just the European style. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I think with all the trainers that are in WWE, if anything else, you could look at NXT and you can see there's a bunch of different styles in NXT. I think this is a good thing. I think they're going to learn way more. They're going to have the fundamentals better. They're going to have probably an easier way to develop a character. And on top of that, they're making a bunch of money while working, as opposed to being on the indies, learning all the bad things about professional wrestling and maybe getting relish on your hot dog. I can see what C4 Wrestling is coming from if this was the territory system, but considering that it's the indies and they're not really learning anything regardless, and if anything, they're learning bad habits, nah, I'm fucking with Triple H on this one right here. I get where he's coming from, but nah, I'm fucking with Triple H. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below in regards to this conversation. With that being said, let's get to the NXT review. Okay, whatever they do with Trick Williams, please, man, that's such a nitpick for me. I promise you, I know people are like, you're nitpicking it, but I can't get over that, bruh. I hate that. I cannot stress that enough for any wrestling promotion to put their world champion in the beginning of the night. Like, not even the beginning. Obviously, that's a good thing. The opener and the closure in the middle of the card is fine. I'm talking about like in the second. It's just the optics of it. The second from the top of the card, or like, you know, the penultimate right before the main event. I don't know why they do shit like that. It's fine if you're gonna follow up on it, but if this is the only spot they're gonna get, I hate shit like that, man. I hate it. It just means that your world champion is not in the conclusion of the fucking match of the show. I just hate that so much, man. Nevertheless, though, this opener with Tatum Paxley and Wendy Chu, it was fine. It was inoffensive. I liked how they started off the show with the promo package, and they kind of cut in the middle of Tatum Paxley pretty much introducing this match, which apparently was a casket match. I think this is the first. I'm pretty sure I think they actually mentioned it on commentary, but I don't think I've ever seen a casket match that didn't involve Undertaker or Kane or anything like that, or Foley maybe. I think I've never seen a. Has there ever been? I guess this right here would have been my first time seeing one outside of Foley, Kane, or Taker. But it was fine for what it was. I mean, typically I would look at matches like this and I kind of like scoff at it, but at the very least it fit the gimmick of the two competitors, which I can always find somewhat amusing. Like when you have two dark gimmicks, and the dark gimmick in regards to what they're doing is, again, it's not like it's for a championship, it's a lower card feud, and again, it was a very inoffensive match. It kind of reminded me of that Blair Davenport and Sol Ruka match they had a couple of months ago. Their little hardcore match, but it involved all the props that were more akin to Sol Ruka's gimmick because she's a surfer. Again, it was fine. Nothing that was really deliberate. I did like some of the spots, like the arm drag into the corner with the dollhouse right there, and the Lego spot was kind of stupid, but I get it. I know what they were trying to play into because it's Winnie Chu in her room, obviously, and I like the spot also with the finish. I mean, I kind of thought the pillow spot was kind of dumb when she threw it outside the casket. I never really understood spots like that. Whether it's like a spot like that or a wrestler putting their foot or their arm on the bottom rope. I never understood spots like that because it's like, I mean, you're trying to say that you're too exhausted to kick out, but typically when they do stuff like that, they stand up right away. I never understood spots like that. But nevertheless, though, the match did end with Winnie Chu. She took a fire extinguisher to her face. Well, first she did like a modified elbow drop. I mean, she did like a Cactus Jack elbow drop off the apron, but she pretended as if she was falling asleep, and she landed in the casket along with Tatum Paxley, and the lid shut on both of them, which I thought was funny. I mean, it's really goofy. But then afterwards, Wendy Chu was on top of a casket, and Tatum Paxley sprayed her with a fire extinguisher, which made her fall off the top of the casket through a bed, which was, I guess, supposed to be like a table. Technically, it broke like a table. I hope they let you do that in next previous games where you get to customize your weapons to act as you would, because that was actually pretty good. I would like to create a wrestler and have a gimmick with that wrestler and have them have their own customized weapon and use it as I freely should. I feel like they did that for DLCs in these 2K23 games, but expand on that. I don't know. But she did win the match by throwing her in the casket after she went through the table. And they're pretty much, prepping up us for later on tonight, where we're going to have William Regal in the corner of Lexis King and this, I guess, going up against his son in the No Quarter Catch crew for that little trophy they always have. I'm assuming you're going to get a turn. That's why that's going to be the main event. But like I said, we have Trick Williams. He's about to cut a promo right now, so let's see where that's gonna go. But hopefully, it kind of leads into the main event. I hope at the very least. Okay, see, Sean gets it, bro. He gets it. I was hoping that he was gonna do something like this. Okay, this was a good segment for more ways than one. Good segment, solid, awesome segment. So Trick showed a bit more energy than he usually does. Way more energetic on the microphone, had more words to say. That's always a good thing. Don't know if he's getting better on the microphone, but at least for this segment, he was on point, right? He's talking about how his ribs hurt, how he's still reeling from all the stuff that was going on in his match with Ethan Page. He said all the things that happened with him and Ethan Page he was kind of expecting, but he wasn't really expecting what happened after the match when Ridge Holland attacked him from behind. And he said he'd be in the hospital right now if it wasn't for a certain Hall of Famer. Out came Bubba Ray, right? And man, can I just say real quick, god damn, bro, two things. One, Jesus Christ, I cannot tell him apart from Alex Jones. I swear, Alex Jones and Bubba Ray Dudley, they are twins. They are actually twins. I wonder if he's actually been told this before. He looks so much like Alex Jones. He's like the northerner, or the northern Alex. I can't. It's just freaky. It is really, really freaky. It's even more freaky because I don't really listen to Alex Jones, but I've known Alex Jones or been aware of Alex Jones for like maybe 4 or 5 years now, whereas I've been watching Bubba Ray since I was a kid, so like almost 30 years now. But it's just crazy. And then number 2, Bubba Ray just does no wrong in my eyes. I mean, the Dudley Boys, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. That's my actual childhood right there. So he just does no wrong in my eyes. Not to mention, from a actual wrestling opinionated standpoint on Busted Open Radio, he pretty much has the exact same takes I have when it comes to professional wrestling for the most part. So obviously, I'm a diehard Dudley Boys fan. I'm a mark for Bubba Ray. I like this Bully Ray stuff, obviously in TNA also. And he was always very competent on the microphone, whether it's in ECW, whether it's in TNA when he had his heel run as Bully Ray, or whether it is right now. Pretty much putting over everybody in the NXT locker room, putting over Trick Williams. He was offered by Trick Williams to be a tag team partner with him to take on Ridge Holland and Ethan Page. I'm assuming next week. I think next week at the ECW arena. We'll talk about that also going forward. But, he got himself hyped up a little bit. He got the shades and he put it on, and I can't lie. I can't lie. Okay, I kind of marked out a little bit. I marked out a little bit. You put the shades on, and I just somehow get transported back to 1999. I marked. I can't help it. It's the fucking Dudley Boys, bruh. I marked out a little bit, okay? But, Bubba Ray had to let Trick Williams know that he can't take his offer, unfortunately, because, well, he feels like he'd just be taking somebody's spot. And the audience, they were like saying, you still got it. Try to get him to take the deal with Trick Williams, which he's going to do. But more importantly, that makes me think that they're going to actually come back to this later on tonight, maybe even in the main event. And I like that. What's the storyline happening throughout the night? Will Bubba Ray take the deal? Will he won't take the deal? So that's always a good thing. I love shit like that. And afterwards, we did get a little bit of a segment with, what was it? Who was before Kehlani Jordan? I can't remember who was before. Oh, actually, how did I forget? Come on, Avante. Stay on point, dumbass boy. Rob Van Dam, Mr. RVD, the Where's Waldo of professional wrestling. I swear to God, this man pops up everywhere. He's either in TNA, he's in AEW, he's in WWE, he's starting to Only Wrestlers with his wife. That's a real thing. It's a OnlyFans for professional wrestlers. I'm not even joking. Rob Van Dam, which it seems like he's going to have a special appearance coming up at next week's show. Unfortunately, he probably won't have Pantera's Walk because Tony Khan probably has, something to do with that. I really would love for him to have the Pantera Walk theme, but One of a Kind is still a great theme song also. That's also my childhood, so I'm okay with that. And then, like I said, Kehlani Jordan came up afterwards, and I guess her and goddamn Nikita Lyons is looking like a fucking snack. Jesus Christ. Homegirl about to pop out that skirt. Had me sweating in it, had to get a fan out. Woo! But apparently they're going to have a match. I'm assuming, I don't know if that's number 1 contender implications against Fallon Henley. Don't know. But we'll see how that goes throughout the night also. Actually, be honest with you, Ava Ring wasn't looking too bad herself also. But whatever. With that being said, Lexis King and William Regal, that's coming up next when he takes on Charles Dempsey, whatever the fuck his name is, and the Heritage Catch and the Heritage Cup match. So, I was thinking that this was going to be the main event, but I'm pleasantly surprised to know that this isn't, but also very curious as to see what is going to take place, not so much during the match, but after the match. But we'll stay tuned for that. Let's get it. That was great. That was a mix of really, really solid wrestling and great selling from Lexis King. And on top of that, you got some actual storytelling happening throughout the match. So first and foremost, let me just say this real quick. I am absolutely, I can't lie, I am very, very much amused by the fact that we're going to get Nunzio. We're actually doing this. Okay, I'm cool with this. Nunzio and Tony D'Angelo, I am absolutely cool with this. Now, if Nunzio can bring back the full-blooded Italians, whether it's, the version of full-blooded Italians from ECW back in 98, or if he's going to bring back Chuck Palumbo and fucking Ron, what's his name? Stamboni. What's his name? The Bull Stamboni. I forgot his first name though. Bring back the FBI from 2003. Either one works, but I do want to see the FBI and the family have something. I'm just very much intrigued by that. But this match in itself, this was great. This was fantastic. I'm not gonna say that like I don't know. I probably will say to myself, I wasn't really expecting Lexis King to be as good as he was in the match. I should expect no better. I mean, he is the son of Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman. I mean, one of the greatest cruiserweights in the history of the business. So I should have expected that he was actually this good of a wrestler. But because I'm so used to him being a character, you never really get to see, Lexis King go out there and really, really wrestle. And man, his footwork is amazing. His selling and footwork is so much like his dad's. I know the whole gimmick is he doesn't want to be like his dad, but you got to watch his footwork, man. I don't think I've ever seen Lexis King botch before. His footwork is very, very good. But my God, yo, we need immediately two things to happen. I need to see some DNA results because look, you got freaking William Regal over here looking like Paul McCartney, and then you got his son looking like George Harrison, and it's like, I need to see a DNA test, okay? I need to see a DNA test. Yes, he kind of looks like William Regal a little bit, but he looks more like George Harrison. And I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying I'd like to see a DNA test nonetheless, okay? And I get the whole story, I wouldn't be surprised because Brian Pillman Jr. or Lexis King, I think he was born in 93, right? I think I got him by like a year or so. So it wouldn't surprise me that William Regal knew him since he was a baby. Because, I mean, what Brian Pillman Sr., he would have been in WCW with Regal for like a year or two, like in 94, 95, before he went to ECW in 96 after the whole Booker Man storyline. So I wouldn't be surprised if Regal legitimately has known Brian Pillman Jr. since he was an actual baby. But, God, Charles Dempsey, bro, he is so good. He is so good. Did you see that hatch? I mean, it's the little small things that I don't know you guys caught, but that hatch snapmare where he forced Brian Pillman down to the mat for that leg hook, that was beautiful. I want to see a match with him and Gunther, either him and Gunther or him and Chad Gable. I bet a match with Charles Dempsey and Chad Gable or a match with him and Gunther would be out of this fucking world. That was great. And the story between the match was the fact that Lexis King hurt his knee. So it buckled, on the outside of the ring when he tried to go for a springboard move, a counter into a springboard move, but he buckled and he fell to the floor. I thought at first it was real for a second, so good job on the selling. They went to commercial break and they were carrying him from the ring until he took the brace off his knee and he wanted to get back in the ring. They went at it for a little bit longer with some great wrestling, nice catch wrestling for the most part, until it got to a point where he was in the corner with William Regal, and William Regal tried to slide him the brass knuckles, give him the power of the punch, if you will. But Brian Pillman Jr., he gave it back to him and he was like, "I'm not my father." And then Charles Dempsey gave him one of the most, I always thought Chad Gable had the most beautiful German suplexes today. Nah, bro, I think Charles Dempsey gives him a run for his money. That was such a textbook beautiful. Because I always thought to myself that Angle, Chad Gable, and Benoit were the only ones to do an actually good German suplex. A German, because in order to do a really good solid German suplex, you have to kind of sacrifice your neck a little bit. To do it, it's not just the bridge. The bridge in itself is going to have you sometimes, you might spike yourself on the mat to do an actual good German suplex. And the fact that Charles Dempsey, because even I've seen Chad Gable do his German suplexes, as good as they are, he will spike himself sometimes on the mat. I love how Charles Dempsey, he doesn't spike himself. He'll actually use the leverage of his opponent's hips to make sure that he doesn't hit his head, the top of his head on the mat, and then jam his neck. That was so beautiful, and he won off that German suplex. And it's just crazy. I see him, and I see Ren Sinclair. I see the other two guys. I haven't seen them wrestle, but man, you got quite possibly two of the most fundamental wrestlers in your stable for each gender. And I don't know, I really, really dug this match, and I really, really dug this story. But coming up next, we got the debut of Delta. So let's get to it. I think she calls herself Zaria now. So let's get to it. I kind of educated myself last week because I'm familiar with the name, but I've never seen her wrestle. So I'm very curious as to what she's going to do in this match. So let's get to it. Okay, that's a unique perspective in the women's division. Okay, I'm not going to say we haven't seen powerhouses in the women's division before. I don't know why I expected her to be more like luchador based, but she was a powerhouse, I like this. So kudos to Brinley Reese, who I'm going to assume is just very I think she's double jointed. That spot with the elbow and the hyper extension and then knocking it back into place, that was awesome. That looked really fucking cool. I really like that spot. Again, I just assume Brynlee Reese is double jointed, and that's how she's able to hyperextend her elbow like that. I think Randy Orton can do that with his shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. Although I know when he does it with his shoulder, he actually knocks it out of place sometimes. But this was fine. This was just showcasing her. Brynlee Reese was essentially just a jobber to the stars. She was out there just to make Zaria look good. And, Zaria, I guess her signature moves is going to be a spear. And her finisher, I know people are going to probably confuse it with an F5. It's not really an F. You know who used to do that move? Believe it or not. I don't know if some of you guys, paid attention to his repertoire. That's Test. Test, that was his old finisher back in the days before he started doing the diving power bomb or like the big boot. Test used to do that little TKO spin out. Would I even call it a TKO? I'm not even sure if I'd call that a TKO. Well, I guess that would be a TKO, right? Mark Merrill's old finisher. It looks like an F5. Like when she did it to Brynlee, that was a TKO. But then when she did it to I guess JC Jane, when they had their little brawl, it looked like an F5. So it's kind of hard to tell or distinguish what her actual finisher is going to be. I don't know if it's a TKO or if it's an F5, but she looked good in this match. She looked really, really good in this match. Very dominant. And then afterwards, you had Fatal Influence come out to, I guess, attack her because she ran on their parade last Saturday. Or was that Sunday? I lost track of time. I think Sunday. And then out came Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. They were all going to jump her before she was helped out. What's her name? Kehlani Jordan came in the ring. And then afterwards, Julia, then Stephanie came out to the ring. And it was still 4-on-5 because it's two, it's Cora Jade and it's, Roxanne and it's Fatal Influence. And then out came the returning Jordan Grace. And now it was a 5-on-5 and all the girls started to brawl. Got some, all the girls got the chance to hit their spots. Kehlani Jordan hit the Gangrel sit out. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Gangrel. It was like an X Factor mixed up with an Impaler DDT. She got her move in, and then, Julia and Stephanie, they did the double knees to the corner, and then Jordan Grace and Delta, they ended up picking but Roxanne Perez and then dumping her outside the ring. So I guess it's going to be a 5-on-5 women's match coming up soon, which is fine. I mean, it just shows off the depth of the women's division. I mean, you got lower tier stars like, for an example, Tatum Paxley and, Wendy Chu having a hardcore match, which, by the way, speaking of hardcore match, next week we're going to have Lola Vice taking on Miss Parker in a hardcore match, so that should be fine. It's just showing off more depth of the women's division. Coming up next, we got Kehlani Jordan taking on Nikita Lyons. And, again, I just made a video earlier this morning talking about the women and what they should be doing in order to stand out a little bit more. Again, it's not as if I'm not saying that the women can't wrestle. I even think I mentioned this in the video. But, God, it just sucks to know that they have some of the baddest women, period, on the planet. And it's like, one may argue from an, aesthetic standpoint, they look more closer to the divas than any of the women, period, point blank. Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, they look more closer to the diva division than any of the girls who supposedly are, the real quote unquote women's wrestlers, right? And it's funny that NXT has the most depth of all the women, period, in professional wrestling. And it's not really close at all, unless you're going to get to like, women only promotions like Stardom or whatever. Like, as far as like mixing it in with the men, NXT has the most depth for any of the women's division, period, in pro wrestling. It's just crazy to know how much depth they have. And like I said, speaking of depth, coming up next is going to be Nikita Lyons taking on fucking, goddamn, I had a brain fart right there. Goddamn, Kehlani Jordan. So let's get to it. That was so fucking random. Okay, I mean, it's never a bad day to see Rhea Ripley anytime, but damn, that was just so goddamn random. But yeah, so just to kind of revert back, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if I didn't tell anybody. So, I mean, it's not as if this wasn't obvious to begin with. But as I mentioned last week, it was absolutely Nikita Lyons who attacked Rizzo backstage, right? And, just to revert back a little bit further, when Nunzio was calling Tony D'Angelo to essentially put a hit out on him, Rizzo said that she was going to go take care of some business. I guess that business was with Nikita Lyons. And Nikita Lyons ended up losing the match because of the distraction from Rizzo coming out to the the entrance ramp. She ended up losing the match to Kehlani Jordan with the one-of-the-kind split-legged moonsault. And then afterwards, Rizzo started to beat the dog shit out of Takeda. What's her name? Kehlani tried to pull her off of her, but then Rizzo was telling her it was her. She was the one that attacked me. And then Kehlani assisted into throwing her out of the ring into a suicide dive onto Takeda Lyons, and they started to beat the fuck out of each other. It was really her beating the fuck out of Takeda Lyons to go backstage. I'm not here to pretend that I told you guys so, but it was off. It was fucking obvious. I can't take credit for that. And then we had this segment, which I'm happy they, brought it all in together. I mean, the main event is going to be a tag team match, at least for the tag team championship belts. I will say that. At least there was some tag team championship or some championship gold, implications into the main event. I still prefer the World Heavyweight Championship, but it is what it is. It was a tag team segment versus the tag team championship match. I can deal with it, I guess. I mean, hopefully we get an angle coming out of it. But you had Ethan Page and Ridge Holland kind of debating amongst each other who should get the next shot at the NXT Championship belt. But so before they invoked the name of Bully Ray, and then Bully came out to the ring to confront them. And Bully was kind of reading Ridge Holland the riot act. Like you talk all this shit and you say this, and if you plug Busted Open Radio one more goddamn time, goddamn, we get it, Bully. But essentially he was telling them, look, you're still a kid. And at the end of the day, I won more championship belts than you've probably gotten championship opportunities, which is absolutely a fucking shoot. Good God Almighty. I think Bully, actually outside of AEW, I think they won every single championship belt there is to win in every promotion besides AEW, which I wouldn't be surprised if, Devon's not in any condition. But nevertheless, though, while he was talking, eventually, Ridge Holland, he got a little bit disrespectful. He called him a nostalgia act. He said that he's nothing more than a radio show host. He's no longer from Dudleyville. He's just a nostalgia act. A little bit too much disrespect for Bully Ray to take, and he ended up punching him in the face. And then Ethan Page clobbered him from behind because he kind of disrespected Ethan Page by saying that he deserves no championship opportunity. And they started to jump him before Trick Williams came out to the ring to make the save. And then Bully Ray essentially told Trick Williams, hey, I'm your guy. We're tag team partners. Next week, ECW Arena. Should look fantastic, by the way. Also, by the way, the 5-on-5 women match that we talked about earlier, that's been confirmed also for next week. So it's looking like a stacked show. We got a hardcore match with Lola Vice and Jada Parker. We have the 5-on-5 women match. We have the tag team match with Bully Ray. Got a special appearance from RVD. Looking like a stacked card, man. Looking like a stacked card. And overall, so far, this show, this is exactly what NXT was supposed to be, man. I'm all for it, man. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. And let's see if we have one more segment before we get to the main event. Give me a second. All right, so again, they just ran down the card real quick, but pretty much all they really confirmed, I didn't see this in the original graphic. Maybe they just added it during this whole promo segment with Jada Parker, but apparently Dawn Marie is going to be the special guest referee in that match also. Man, if that's really her, I don't know if that's like a render of like how she looks like back in like 2002, or if that's a render of her currently at the moment, because goddamn, she still looks bad as hell. Dawn Marie's got to be like in her 50s nowadays. She was old, actually she probably might be a little bit older. How old is Dawn Marie? She was actually rather old, if I remember correctly, even back in like 2000. I mean, it's not old, but like old for the women. I think she was like in her mid 30s. I remember looking on Wikipedia back when I was in elementary school, like in 2002, and I remember reading Dawn Marie was like 34 or 35. So how old is Dawn Marie right now? She's got to be pushing maybe 60, believe it or not. Let me see. I'm curious. Dawn Marie, because I 53. Okay, so she was probably like 31 at the time. Even then though, like, she still looks really good for her age, though. If that's her right there, she looks good for her age. I know the last time I seen Dawn Marie, she was pregnant. What was it, the One Night Stand show back in 2005? Because I think that's when she got back with Triple Threat with Lance Storm and it was that Lance Storm and Jericho match, right? It was no, not Triple Threat. Triple Threat. That was TNA. That was Eli Skipper and Daniels and shit. No, this was that was the Impact players, right? That was Lance Storm and Just Incredible and I forgot Homeboy's name. It was Lance Storm, Just Incredible, Dawn Marie, and was it Jason? Jason Knight. Boom, got it. Jason Knight. I know they interfered in the match. That's when he hit Jericho in the head with the cane when he had that match with Lance in the opener when he reverted back to Lionheart. Great match, by the way, if you guys ever want to cut it. I always thought it was weird because Jericho was still in the feud with John Cena and Christian at the time, and him to just jog. But I guess, that ECW show was non-canon, so whatever. But yeah, Don Marie's going to be special guest referee. And as I notated, they did have the 5-on-5 match while the girls were backstage going over who they wanted to aim at during the match. Rhea Ripley just randomly showed up, I guess just to give some encouraging words. But again, it was just really random. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Coming up next is the main event. Hopefully they deliver, and hopefully we got more to talk about, because again, still don't appreciate the world champion not main eventing the show, but at least it's title implications having to do with this. So hopefully we get an angle out of this. And yeah, let's finish off. Let's finish this off. Oh, I might as well just continue with this also. Also, Rhea Ripley got the shit beat out of her from what it looks like. It looks like, I guess they're continuing Raw storylines on NXT. But yeah, we're getting more. Hey, I'm not hating. Okay, it is what it is. That's cool. I mean, we're getting over women tonight, right? But Raquel Gonzalez and Liv Morgan with some baseball bats, it looks like, just beat the dog shit out of Rhea Ripley in the parking lot. As you all know, the most dangerous place in professional wrestling, the NXT parking lot. She was left not a bloody mess, but bruised. You can see blood trickling out of her nose or her mouth. So I'm assuming that's going to be a storyline that's going to continue on to Raw. Again, I guess would this be I said non-canon. I guess would this be considered canon? I guess so. But I like stuff like that. You want to continue what happened on Raw. I was hoping they were going to do that with McIntyre and Punk before they went to Hell in a Cell about a month ago. But it is what it is. They did it with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. So tune in to Raw next week, I guess, if you want to see what the hell is going on with all of that. So yeah. But with that being said, main event time. All right, I can accept that. I can accept this. See, this is all I ask for, okay? If it's not going to be the world champion doing anything in regards to the main event, then just make it worthwhile. Give it a solid cliffhanger. Give it purpose. Give it reason. That's all I ask for. Give me a reason to want to tune in next week. And I got my reason to want to tune in next week. Excellent show from NXT. They made up for last week's show, which was not that good. This week's episode, though, this was fine. This was solid. A lot of stuff happened tonight. To the extent that this was a 2-hour show. And did you guys even remember the fact that we had the casket match early on tonight? I know. Holy shit. This show got a lot of stuff in. A lot of women over. A lot of the division got over tonight. This was good. This was good. This tag team main event was what you expect it to be. I like when they got closer to the finish, and it was a pin attempt from Nathan. He was doing a pinfall on Cedric Alexander, and then I like that. That was actually lit. While he was getting while Nathan was pinning Cedric Alexander, Javon Evans ran off the back of Nathan, and then he hit a cutter on Axiom in the middle of all that. That was a really dope, and he broke up the pinfall doing that. That was really lit. But unfortunately, because I think they're doing this whole storyline where Javon Evans is very inexperienced and he's not thinking straight. So while that was all going on, you had Wes Lee come out with a steel chair like he was going to do something. Unfortunately, Javon Evans took his eye off the ball. They could have won the match, and then he could have did what he wanted to do. But again, the story is Javon Evans is super young. He's inexperienced. He's immature. He took his eye off the prize, and he ended up hitting a suicide dive on Wes Lee. And then they started to fight, and then they went backstage, leaving Cedric Alexander in the ring alone, which obviously Axiom and took advantage of, and they ended up winning the match and retaining the tag team championships. Which, again, I like the story that was being told, because it wasn't just that, it was also the obvious dissension between Nathan and Axiom. And you can clearly tell that one half is turning heel, that'd be Nathan, and the other side of Axiom being the babyface in all this. It was a multitude of layers going on in all this. And to the degree after the match, they started to fight more backstage, Wes Lee and Javon, and they were being pulled apart by security guards and referees and everything. You had Ava, which again, she's looking really bad in a good way. I don't I don't know what the hell's going on, but she's looking fine as fuck. Don't know. Maybe it was just the outfit that she wore tonight. But she was breaking up the fight and trying to get some control before RVD, he came into the middle of all this and he was like, you know what? I have an idea what I want to do next week. And then he walked away and they started to brawl some more, then it went off the air. Again, it had purpose. Gave me a nice solid cliffhanger as far as what's going to happen next week. I don't know. I'm very curious because it's like you would think that, okay, are they going to do a hardcore match? Well, no, because Jada and Lola, they're going to do the hardcore match. Is it going to be a special guest referee? I would think not, because Dawn Marie is going to be the special guest referee, obviously, and the upcoming match with Lola and Jada in their hardcore match. So it's like I actually don't know what RVD is going to do next week. But that's just the beauty of it, right? Not to mention, obviously, you want to catch up and see what, again, there was just a lot of layers onto the show. I think that was the best part about NXT tonight, and the best part about NXT pretty much for the most part. Again, last week was kind of a mixed bag, but that's pretty much the antithesis of NXT, is that there's just so much going on and there's just so much layers. I do wish, because even though they got all their shit in, and it's not as if they cut off like they did last week in the middle of a fucking match or promo or whatever, they got their shit in, but it still looked like it cut off somewhat abruptly, like a hard stop. I wish they were still in USA to have that overrun, because it just kind of gave you like a gradual conclusion. You know, you had room to breathe, or at the very least, I don't know what the hell's going on with these matches, man. It's not just an NXT problem, it's a Raw problem too. I mean, SmackDown typically gets it right, you know, like you get your match in, you leave at least 3 minutes, at the very least 3 minutes, to just breathe a little tiny bit. That would probably be my only critique about this tag team match, was the fact that, like, you know, Axiom won the match, and mind you, it was like 9:58 when they were still having the match going into the finish, and then they won the match, and like all you got was the announcement before the abrupt cut backstage with the brawl finishing off with Javon and Wesley before RVD made his comments. It would have been nice to see the segment breathe a little tiny bit before they went into the next segment. If I have any critique with NXT, it's that your match management, man. Sean, whoever your producers are, whoever your road agents, whatever you want to call them, they really need to get a good grasp on time management. Have the match end like at 9:56, 9:57 at the least, just to give at least 3 minutes, just to kind of map this out a little bit more. You know, the way it just goes off so abruptly, it feels kind of amateurish, you know what I mean? So hopefully they get a grip on that going forward. And also, I'll talk about this tomorrow. I don't want to, you know, fill this with any type of more empty void, I don't want to fill an empty void is what I'm trying to say. But I did see a news report about Vince McMahon, and he's going to apparently launch a new entertainment company. I want to see what they have to say about that. I'll let that news kind of circulate a little bit more and let that kind of marinate a little bit before I talk more about that. But I'll have a separate video on that if they have more things to talk about in regards to this whole new Vince McMahon entertainment business or whatever he's going to do going forward. Very intrigued by that. But overall, that was NXT for tonight, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below in regards to how you felt about the show. I thought tonight was a solid episode. Next week, we got the ECW show instead of the ECW arena, so it should have a different type of appearance and a different type of aesthetic attached to it. It should be awesome, and it's that kind of you know, that because the ECW arena, that's going to be also in the old ROH building too. So I'm assuming that is it going to be the ECW arena like the ones we used to see in Philadelphia? Yeah, it has to be, because they're going to be in Philadelphia. I was thinking maybe they're going to do the ballroom, like where Raw used to be at back in when they first started in 93, 94. But if they're going to go to like the actual ECW arena, that seems like the kind of, you know, space that NXT should be able to easily fill. But I am curious as to how it's going to look like. It's going to be like a gym hall or anything like that. Maybe not, because it is WWE. But again, we'll wait and see when we get there. Are they going to have guardrails, or is it going to be barricades? I am kind of curious as to the appearance of the show as far as how it's going to look next week. But I'm rambling on right now. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And we'll talk about the whole Vince McMahon stuff later on once we get more news rolling out. But with that being said, my name is Millennial Smart, and I'll be catching you guys on the next video. A deuces and a P eyes.